Well, thanks everybody for coming. I want to congratulate David and his family. We're extremely excited about this selection. It was a pretty difficult choice, and when you have guys like Greg McDermott and Tim Miles and Saul Phillips and Ben Jacobson and Ben Woodside telling me if I didn't hire this guy, it would be the dumbest thing I've ever done, and a group of basketball players on this team that are coming back that were so excited about David being their next head coach, it was probably one of the easiest decisions that I've had to make in at least the last 4 or 5 months. But we're very excited about it. David's a long time NDSU guy. He has been building his career for this moment, and I can't be more excited for him and his family. So David, I'm turning it over to you. It's your day. Congratulations.
Thanks, Shane. This is my first press conference here, and I've always wanted to meet and do lunch or golf with Charles Barkley. So if we can make it if somebody has an onion or something like that, and I can get the tears going, maybe Barkley can be in touch. Before I get going, obviously plenty of people that I want to thank. I stand up here as the new head coach, but this surely didn't happen alone. Mr. President, our visit today reassured me of your direction for this institution, this program. More importantly, your confidence in Gene, for this decision. Not just, Gene, but Gene and Kathy. They have established a family atmosphere within the NDSU athletic department that, and this might sound crazy, but I'm from the area, I went to school here, all those things, so NDSU's special that way. But you can ask anybody around me, it's way more important who I'm working with and who I'm working for. And to have a boss like Gene Taylor and the family atmosphere that him and Kathy create, I couldn't be more thankful for this opportunity. I'd like to thank Lynn, the entire athletic department. Again, it goes back to the people. There is a picture in chalk on the men's locker room, and it's in chalk in the BSA for a reason, because it's old school over there. But all the accomplishments that have happened, this year are crazy. It's just amazing to me, and to be a part of that and to continue on that is something that I really cherish. To my man Wes, appreciate everything today, and not only today, but for the last 3-4 weeks between our tournament run and all that. He's been a busy guy. Gene touched on it a little bit. The gentleman that called for me, there's been plenty of coaches, there's been plenty of influences in my life. The 4 gentlemen that he spoke to have had major impacts in my life. Greg McDermott and Ben Jacobson. Simply, you can't find 2 better people. Obviously, they're tremendous coaches, but they're way better people. Tim Miles, a guy besides my father who is, the competitive foundation that I am as a coach. I owe a ton to Coach Miles. And finally for Saul, he gave me a ton of freedom the last 7 years to really grow and put me in position to be here. But most importantly, I'd like to thank him for my friend, our friendship. I've spent more time with that guy, good, bad, or indifferent, than I have my family the last year. Before I have a real Charles Barkley moment here, I'm going to try to get through these next couple. My family, my in-laws, Larry and Ann Jean, you guys put up with a ton from me and probably a lot of complaining and this and that from my wife, but I appreciate everything you do. Simply put, the real reason I'm up here today is my family. My parents, my mom and dad, John and Marcia, and my sister Mary. I stand here, as the apple that fell from your tree, and again, I am so thankful, so thankful. To my family, my wife Stephanie, they're all here. I can't believe they're quiet right now. My oldest daughter Mallory, who's in kindergarten. Brinley, where's Mallory? Oh, there, sure. And then the 2 little cuties, Kenley and Ellie, back there. Obviously, there's a gentleman in this profession who explained it the best. This can and is an extremely selfish profession at times. We are away from our families a lot, and I can't thank you enough, babe. And all you kids, you guys are my biggest fans. Lastly, besides my family, most importantly, There's a group of about 7 or 8 guys sitting in back. There's some past players and there's some future players. I told you guys in the locker room, fellas, thank you. You guys, put us in position and for Coach Phillips to get the job and for me to continue on. And becoming a first-time head coach is a little nerve-wracking, and there's going to be a lot of unknowns. But I wouldn't have taken this job if I didn't believe in those guys. And they got a lot of work to do, and they know that. And we have, big dreams, big goals, but I know we're going to work really hard to get there. Obviously, it's been crazy the last couple days, from the transition of Saul when I left for the Final Four Wednesday, and Saul calling me late Saturday night saying, I think this could happen, and a little bit later Saturday night saying it did happen. But I couldn't be more happy, to sit up here as the new head coach in North Dakota State. It's extremely humbling. It's a dream come true. And quite frankly, I look forward to the challenge. I look forward to the challenge with you guys back there. Why me? That's a question that I, had to relay to Gene, a whole bunch through the last couple days, but I see myself as a fit. And I think that F word, the 3-letter F word, is a big reason for any job. North Dakota State is a special and it's a unique situation. I'm sure a lot of you were around this winter. It got cold. We want guys that understand that it's cold and that are going to go to class when it's cold, and that's a big part of understanding the fit. I have a passion, to develop kids on and off the court. I told Gene today, besides time with my family, the greatest time for me is that 2:30 to about 3:30, the start of practice, when our guys are starting to come in the gym and I can be with them, be around them, and just that rapport. I know they make fun of me a lot. They probably messed up my hair a little bit, but they keep me young. They really do. They're great. And then finally, at my age, it's hard to find a competitive fix where I can still be successful at. And, for those 30 or so opportunities a year for me to go out and compete with these guys, that's what it's all about. My plan going forward, it's pretty simple. I believe Saul stood up here about 7 or 8 years ago and said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Coach Miles laid a tremendous foundation for this transition to Division I, and Saul put his fingerprints all over it and did a tremendous job. And I have no plan of blowing up that recipe. How are we going to do it? The way we've continued to, the way we've done in the past is the way we're going to continue to do it with upper Midwest high school kids that want to be at North Dakota State. Are we going to mix in a transfer here or there, a junior college kid to fit a need, a specific need? Yes, absolutely. But the core of our group is going to be upper Midwest high school kids. Big things on the future. I got back from the Final Four on Monday and went right into the BSA, and there's all this banging around. There's a smell of exhaust, and everybody's kind of complaining. And I'm like, that's the smell of money to me. It's the first sign of demolition within the BSA, and it's really exciting. Sure, there's some challenges ahead, especially over the next couple years of where we're going to do this, where we're going to do that. But again, I go back, and I'll keep going back to that group of 7 or 8 guys in the back. They didn't bet on us when any of that was fact. They bet on us long before that because they believed in Coach Phillips, myself. They believed in our plan. And that's what's really rewarding. And hopefully, sorry, LA, sorry, Chris, Corey, you probably won't get to see it, but for you younger guys, AJ Carlin, it's going to be a special deal. And part of that, comes what I'd like to sit here and thank our fans, thank our supporters. We're going to put up a $41 million renovation to the Bison Sports Arena, somewhere along those numbers. And that doesn't happen with just anybody. It happened with a lot of hard work and efforts by a lot of people. Our goals going forward, we want to be the benchmark of the Summit League. We're going to compete every single day to get better. And these guys know me. I asked them the other day, before they talked to Gene, I said, be honest. I'm going to ask 2 things of you guys. I'm going to ask you to go out and do your job and give maximum effort. If we do those things every day between our players and our staff, we won't have any problems. And I know leadership starts with Lawrence, and it'll trickle down into our juniors and sophomores and our incoming freshmen. But I couldn't be more excited than I am right now to sit here and look all of you, in particular those guys, in the eye as a new head coach at North Dakota State.
David, I can promise you one thing. They were extremely honest, just so you know.
he shared words that we can't share at the press conference. So, with that, I'll open up to any other questions that you have.
President Rashani, you want to add anything?
Well, I will just add one thing, how impressed I was. David found out he was going to interview with me about 15 minutes, I think, before it happened, which is about how long it takes to run home and get a suit and tie on. And I was anticipating a nervous prospective coach that wasn't prepared for a sudden interview. And what I found was an experienced, articulate coach that went beyond the immediate questions, started talking about league competitiveness, RPIs, potential league expansion, market penetration, recruiting of students. This is a man that's prepared for the job, and he's prepared to excel in the job. And I'm very excited the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you.
Dave, how much does it mean to you? You touched on it a little bit, but to be a North Dakota guy and to be a Division I head coach in the state you grew up in a program you grew up seeing.
Absolutely. I think it means everything for me. You know, again, the basis of who I am is the people around me, my friends and family. So to be here, to be able to do it, I grew up in Wapaton, North Dakota. I wouldn't trade those experiences, those friendships for anything. To go 2 years at the junior college here and to transfer up here, it's been special. And again, like I said, it's a dream come true.
Dave, when did you get a sense that this was something you wanted to do? When do you remember the first inkling that I want to be a head coach?
Kind of got rumblings, when Miles was in transition, okay, we're going to meet, with Gene, all staff was. And hindsight's 20/20, things worked out really well, but I didn't feel like I went into that meeting fully prepared. And that's what I mean. I don't think I was probably ready 7 years ago. But about a week after that, Keith Duke, who was our student manager at the time, he made a little card like this. It has a Bison logo. And I haven't even told you this, but since that day, that sat in my wallet. And so, truly, about a day or a week after Saul got the job the first time, and this is everything I've tried to do professionally is to set myself up for this day and this moment.
Gene, is this the fastest hire that you've ever had in?
Yeah, it really is. I think obviously, Chris's was fairly fast. It was a little bit longer than this one, but the world of college basketball goes quick, and from Saul's. We get to the Final Four on Friday. He tells me he's got an interview with Ohio U later on Saturday morning, and I see him before the game, and I said, how'd it go? And he goes, well, it was all right. It was kind of an introductory interview. I'm not real sure where it's going to go. And then after the games on Saturday, I get a call. And the world of college basketball just goes fast. I mean, you're getting calls from a lot of people, and I knew that if David was going to be the guy, Tim Miles told me, he said, Gene, if you're going to deliver bad news, deliver it soon. If you're going to deliver good news, deliver it sooner. And I spent an inordinate amount of time Saturday night with both Saul and Coach Miles, really to the wee hours of the morning, talking about the direction and what he would bring to the table and the comfort level that they had with him. And what you have to understand is, both Tim and Saul care a great deal about this program. I mean, Tim is a Nebraska guy, but I'll tell you, he bleeds blue and gold. I mean, this was a program that meant a lot to him. Obviously, it's a program that means a lot to Saul. And so when they were talking to me about David, it wasn't like they were just trying to sell him because they liked him. They were selling him because they knew he was right for us. And they care enough about it that they weren't going to. And so we did. We spent till the wee hours of the morning, spent a lot of time talking about him. And so I knew I needed to move pretty quickly for a lot of folks, in particular those guys in the back of the room. It's a nervous time when you're a college athlete, and any coach can tell you, any player can tell you that transition is a time of anticipation, concern, and they want an answer as quickly as they can. I felt they deserved to get one.
Gene, was this very similar to when you hired Saul then? Can you compare those two?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, Saul I didn't know as well. I hadn't really watched Saul kind of grow up in the program. I've been able to do that with David here. Saul was only here a couple of years, and so I didn't really get to know and watch Saul as much as I have David, and his maturity and how he's grown into a great basketball coach, and what he's meant to this program. And if you think about who he's been with in terms of coaches and the success, but he's been a part of a transition to Division I, He's been a part of a program that went to our first in-state tournament. He's been a part of a program that took a step back for a couple of years and then rebuilt it. And he's been a part of those recruiting efforts, those scouting efforts, those coaches, and to me, that really meant a lot. So it was different because I had a lot more background on David than I did on Saul. I was taking a little bit of a risk with Saul, and just because I didn't know him as well. I know. Yeah, well, yeah.
Dave, as being the face of the program now, what about the transition of talking in front of boosters, talking in front of cameras, media, and all that stuff? You know.
Again, that's something, Jeff, that I watch and observe a lot of talented people come before me, and you play those scenarios in your head. How will you handle them? And again, I told Gene that today. People told me to be myself. I'm going to continue to be myself. I'm going to be learning on it. Am I going to screw up in front of a TV? I hope not, but there's a possibility of that. And those are all things that I'm going to learn on the job. But I just have a confidence, a belief in the system. Again, Coach Miles laid the foundation. Saul built on it, and I'm going to do the same. But more than anything, again, I'm going to keep going back to those guys. I have a confidence in them, and that message that I send, whether that's a booster or the next recruit, is going to be based off the confidence that they've instilled in me.
What will we see different, if anything, from your teams on the floor when you start playing in November? Anything?
Not much, no. Obviously we don't have Big Marsh to throw it in every time. But again, to sit here and think that we're going to play 40 minutes of press, maybe Corey's going to be mad at me now that we're not going to press for 40 minutes. But to think, again, why mess with success? And the guys back there, we have a system. We're going to continue to play a lot, if not exclusively man. Obviously, Bo Ryan's in the Final Four. They value taking care of the ball. That trickled down to Saul. That's trickled down to me. I'm going to harp on that. Sorry, guys. And those are going to be the biggest things. We want to defend, we want to rebound, we want to take care of the ball and give ourselves a chance.
Dave and Gene, it's hard to quantify or rank, but how good of a job is this right now in the world of mid-major sports? Take away the being from North Dakota, but if you can kind of externalize that, how good of a job, how good of a situation is this at NDSU right now?
Well, for me, there was 32 teams in the round of 32 this year. And is that the bar of where we're at every year? Probably not yet, okay? But that's a remarkable feat, again, by those guys. And I think that's a credit to this job and this institution, and just as importantly, the support that we get, the resources that we have, they allow us to be successful. And I think we're set up well to do good in the Summit League. And anytime you get to the NCAA tournament, which we're going to have a chance at, quite frequently, you can make some noise like we did this year.
From my perspective, I think it's an extremely well-respected mid-major program. Not only because of what they did this year, but the fact that what they did in 2009 and to make the noise that they did this year. I think you couple that with the success of our other sports, particularly in the football. People look at North Dakota State differently than they did 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. They know who we are. And I told President Brashani, you get off an airplane in Dallas, Texas, wearing NDSU gear, people don't ask you where that's from now. You get Go Bison. And our reputation out there nationally is it's a different level right now. And I think coaches understand that, and a very, very attractive job. And then you add to it the building we're going to open up in 2 years makes it all the more attractive. Yeah.
Did you really contact Woodside by Twitter?
Yeah, because I didn't know I had it. So things have changed. Look at me. I am getting up there.
Wasn't
Big
it
boy.
you or Miles that was calling him out about it? I'd say he's pretty versed already.
Yeah, Miles was questioning on my Twitter build. He questioned me, by the way, Saturday night quite a bit. We won't go into what he was calling me, but yeah, I tweeted him and he said, "Hey, give me a call," and gave me his number, and he was 10:30 back there, and it was a great conversation. The one thing I didn't say, and I apologize, but it's one thing to hire a great coach. It's a bonus if you hire a great person who's a great coach and a great one of the things that kept coming up with David was integrity, his professionalism, who he is as a person. If that came out, everybody I talked to, that was one of the first things they talked about, was his integrity, who he was as a person, his family values, and Woodside talked about that. But Woodside also talked about hungry, great recruiter, great motivator, great basketball mind. And he said, Gene, if you don't hire David Richman, and I'll just leave it at that.
Dave, you helped recruit a lot of
Kids are in this room right now, a lot of players who just left the program as well. Is there anything that's going to change in your pitch now that you're the head coach?
We want kids that want to be here. I've learned so much in my 10 plus years of coaching as a young coach. You get, let's roll out the carpet. It's sunny and 90 here all the time. All those things. Perception is reality, right? And don't get me wrong, we're going to still show them what NDSU is about, okay? But the last thing we're going to do is get down on our hands and knees and beg a kid to come here. That just to me is a recipe for transfers, which you see this time of year all over. And if we're going to continue to do this the way we've been doing it, building this with high school kids, and by the time they're here for 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5 years, that's when they're really having. We can't afford to have kids that coming in don't have a painted picture of what they're getting into, and a transfer, multiple transfers, just sets you right back down to square one.
What do you consider your biggest challenge, Dave, in starting on day one here?
Well, obviously, there's high expectations. There's high expectations of what we did, from this past year, and then there's going to be an unbelievable transition, from there is a great carrot at the end of this, at the end of this with a brand new arena, but from today going forward until we're in that brand new arena, there's a lot of uncertainties. Where are we going to do this? Where are we going to do that? And that's going to be a big challenge. As Coach Kleiman can really speak to it. I grew up in a football family. You're creatures of habit. You wake up at this time, you eat at this time, you go to the bathroom at this time, you eat, and you watch film at this. And, to not be able to have that routine is going to be tough. It really is. But again, I'll say it again and again and again. Those guys are just going to roll with it. I know they are. I'm not going to give them a choice. Lawrence isn't going to give them a choice. We've got to figure out a way to get better, whether that's practicing outside somewhere, I might bring our laundry home to my wife. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to work our butts off to get it done.